A lot of people struggle with one of the hardest decisions in relationships, knowing when it's time to break up. This uncertainty can create so much stress. As human beings, we crave stability. But if you've ever been made to feel like you're not good enough, whether growing up or in relationships, you might find yourself staying years too long in the wrong relationship, unsure of whether you're making the right decision or not. Questions like, what if they change? Listening to people that tell you they're going to change. That can keep you stuck. Today, I'm going to uncover the surprising truth about trauma bonds and how you can break free for them. And in this video, I'll share with you 7 powerful insights that will help you answer these key questions like, what is a trauma bond? Do I have one? And how do I heal from it? These steps will help you transform your life, how you see yourself and your relationship, and giving you the clarity and confidence you need. As a trauma therapist myself, I've seen countless incredible people stay trapped in relationships that hurt them, that hold them back. And I've been there myself, which is why these lessons are so close to my heart. I've wasted years in the wrong relationship. These lessons, they've worked for my clients, and I know they can work for you too. You don't have to go through any pain alone. So stay with me right to the end and you'll discover some insight that most people never talk about. Lesson number 1, how a trauma bond is created. The way to know whether you've been in a relationship that has created a trauma bond is to look out for cycles of abuse and love. Unsure why you can't leave, even after trying everything, is because there's like an invisible bond holding you back. Trauma bonds don't make sense. Logically, you know that this relationship isn't good for you, but you just don't understand. But they exist because deep down, you fear of letting go of the hope. But if you don't address this now, you don't want to be looking back when you're 80 or 90, looking back at all the years, and all you'll have is regret of the time lost in all that pain and confusion. Trauma bonds are created when you experience love bombing first. Love bombing is when there's intense affection and praise, and you feel like, oh my gosh, all my Christmases have come at once. This seems all so amazing and perfect. But then you quickly into a phase of devaluation or abuse, and it happens quite slowly. It's like a drip effect. Then you get discarded, where you're going through some sort of punishment tactics. If you say something or you express your emotions or you try and fix things, there could be things like triangulation, projection, shame, blame, all projected onto you, so you take the punishment. These cycles create this kind of relationship where there's on-off, and you don't really know what to expect. Sometimes they're nice, sometimes they're not. And that is what traps you. That is when we know, I've been in a relationship where there's been a trauma bond that's kept me in the relationship. So it isn't that you want to stay in the relationship. It's the trauma bond that's keeping you in there. So the first action step that I would say is identify if you've ever been in any type of relationship that follows this pattern. Lesson number 2, we need to look at the brain chemistry because there's an addiction there. Trauma bonds are not just emotional, they are also chemical. Any emotions that you feel in your body, any type of anxiety, any fear, anything, there's a chemical release in your body that creates that feeling. If you feel like you're looking at this relationship and you wouldn't want one of your sisters or your brothers or a good friend or your child to ever be in a relationship like this, then you have to question like, okay, why am I staying in it? So then we have to go, okay, let's look at the brain. That's your supercomputer. Trauma bonds work exactly like a gambling addiction with something called intermittent reinforcement. Basically, you will never know. You're walking on eggshells. You never know when they're going to be nice. You don't know what kind of mood they're going to be in. They're those ones that you have to catch them on the right mood to be able to talk about something. So imagine that you're putting all this money into a slot machine. You're hoping that one day you're going to get a payout, and you're watching other people get payouts sometimes, and you're waiting for your payout, and you're putting in more and more and more thinking, I know one day they're going to realize where you can get some kind of kindness. And that's when you get something called dopamine. And that is what's keeping you hooked. You're waiting for the dopamine hit. You keep going, keep going, keep going because you're waiting for that dopamine hit. So what we have to do is start rewiring our brain by rewarding ourselves for healthy habits. If you do something that's healthy, you want to create a small celebration, even if it's something really simple like a high five in the mirror or a dance saying, yay, I've done something where I'm breaking free from a toxic pattern. Even if you're still in the relationship, you want to give yourself those small rewards without that person seeing so that you can get the dopamine hit in a different way, so that your brain is starting to change its chemistry and understanding that you can get rewards in a healthy way rather than an unhealthy way. Now, the thing to watch out here is even when you get a sense of relief, like when they're not being so mean, they might not be nice. Do you remember any times where you're going out and pretending that you're this normal relationship and you're putting a play act on? Even then, you're getting a dopamine hit where you're getting a relief from being in a stressful environment. Lesson number 3, trauma and the amygdala. We need to look at this. Trauma is actually stored in a part of the brain called the amygdala. It's the part of the brain that reacts to fear, anything that's fearful. Your brain basically is set up to keep you safe. It's not to create success in your life. The first and primary goal of your brain is to keep you safe. So everything goes into the brain and it checks, are you safe? If there's any trauma that's stored in your brain, in the amygdala, that remotely reminds the brain of a previous situation, it'll go into the amygdala and you'll go into a trauma response, a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Trauma bonds, if they were made of a material, it would be made out of fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. These are the things that keep you stuck. So you want to people please. You want to please them. You want fear of not being loved. You want them to love you. You want them to tell you are worthy. And the more fear you have stored already, the more you'll try and change the external situations to try and manage how you feel within yourself. What the problem is we don't know how to face those traumas, the fear of that emotion. What you can do as an action step is actually make a list of all the fears that are controlling you right now. If it's fear of being alone, then write it down and really look at this fear and think it through. Even if you tried, you couldn't be alone. You know, you could find yourself in a desert island and someone somewhere would find you because there's billions of people in the world. And actually, that fear is just a fear. You're never really going to be alone. If you've got a fear of not being good enough, there's always something that you are good at. And really, we need to make a list of all the things that you're fearful of not being good enough about, and then look at a list of all the things that you are really good at. We need to recognize these fears as an illusion so we can start processing those feelings. As you start to look at the fears, they will have less power over you. And then you can start to process those emotions. Lesson number 4, we need to locate the original trauma bond. We don't see we're repeating toxic relationship patterns because it's been created by an original trauma bond in childhood. But if we don't release that original trauma bond, it can hold you back in every single thing in your life, depending on the belief systems that have been planted into you by that original trauma bond. I would recommend that you really look at getting a trauma therapist who understands toxic relationships or difficult relationships and can help you process that original trauma bond. That in itself is going to be life-changing for you. It's absolutely incredible. When you start to release the trauma bond or the childhood traumas, things in your life start to completely change. It's just incredible how you start to see yourself as worthy of having love, see yourself as worthy of having that promotion or whatever it is that you really want to go for. So the action step here would be really reflect on what's holding you back in your life right now. What do you feel? You want to move forward, but there's like this invisible block. And then think about, where did these belief systems come from that could be holding you back? do you believe that you're not worthy of having that? That is in subconscious. Was it a caregiver? Was it with somebody else that told you that you weren't good enough in some way, shape, or form to have what it is that you want? Or that it's not good to have those things? So, for instance, if it is that you're looking for more abundance, who gave you some belief systems that maybe you're not worthy of abundance because maybe you're a woman or maybe something else, or you're not good enough, or you're not the smart one, whatever it might be? And then look at which caregiver or who was it that planted those beliefs in you? Where do these beliefs come from? Do you defend that person in any way? Maybe there's a trauma bond in place that needs to be released. There's still some pain there that needs to be looked at and let go of so you can free yourself to fulfill what it is that you have the potential to fulfill. So you don't procrastinate anymore. You actually start to move forward. And it's well worth investing in a good therapist to help you break those trauma bonds, because your whole life could change. Lesson number 5 is really important to look at your current relationships and look at how do they hook you back in. When we get manipulated, it's normally through emotions. And this is anything in life. If you go out and buy something, normally there's an emotion that you're looking to gain from it. Sometimes we have an amazing bag, but it isn't the bag itself. It's the feeling that it creates when you're carrying that bag, or those pair of shoes, or that coat that you have. Or if you're eating an apple, it's the feeling you get from knowing that you're making a healthy choice. Everything we do is based on trying to feel better. We're moving away from pain and wanting some pleasure in some way. Toxic people know how to manipulate emotions to keep you in the relationship. They might use guilt or shame, sadness, and they might even hook your empathy or weaponize your empathy so you stay in the relationship. You feel bad for them, so you stay. Sometimes they might make you feel good. And it's that spike of love, the love hormone, the oxytocin that you're getting, or the dopamine hit where you feel like they're being nice to you again. Remember the addiction. And that could be the thing that's pulling you back in. So the action step here is just start to journal. What makes me feel better or worse and then keeps me in the relationship itself? What emotions am I being used against me? It's okay. Make sure that you don't judge yourself, criticize yourself for having these emotions. You're a human being. You're going to have emotions. It's a good thing. Lesson number 6. What do you really want out of life? We often get trapped in relationships because we think the other person can give us what we want. It could be peace, it could be security, it could be happiness. But what if it's not true? What if in trying to help them become a better version of themselves, you're giving up on your own sense of self and happiness? Imagine like you're holding on to your lifeline and there's somebody else that's offering you peace, happiness, joy, but they're actually suffering. So you let go of your own lifeline and you go over and you start helping this other person, trying to connect back to their own lifeline. And in doing so, you're suffering, they're suffering, and you're in this suffering mode. What you need to do is get back a hold of your own lifeline again. And in doing so, they can get out of their own suffering if they choose to. But your responsibility is only to yourself. So the action step here would be make a list. What is it that you really want? What do you want in a relationship and what don't you want in a relationship? It's time to be really simple and clear. Make a list of all the things that this person does that makes you feel good and all the things that they've done to you that make you feel rotten, and keep adding to this list. And when you feel that moment of weakness, read the list of what they do and look at what is it that you truly want. And hopefully in there will be consistency. You don't want to be addicted to a person where you can't let go of them. Yeah, you feel sad when it ends, but you have yourself intact. You're not addicted to this person. You feel in control. That time is over. I'm going to grieve it, but I'm still me. When you're in an unhealthy relationship, you're addicted. This exercise will help you break through the illusion that they have created about themselves and about the relationship itself. You'll be able to see, well, I want this, and actually this is what they do. And yeah, there's this moment where I'm getting this dopamine hit and I'm being attracted back into the relationship. But that's all it is. It's a dopamine hit. Lesson number 7, the spiritual purpose of releasing a trauma bond. The trauma bond is a catalyst for you to really know who you truly are. It's not just about letting go of fear, which is the trauma bond. That's what trauma bonds are created on. It's actually about reconnecting to the unconditional love of the Creator. When you release the trauma bond, you free yourself to be fully with and be who you are meant to be, and in service of others around you. That's the only way we can be of service to anyone, to actually help anybody, is for you to stay connected to that unconditional love and hold on tight to it. The action step to this is start listening to your intuition, your guidance system, the God within, the Creator within. It's your direct connection to the Creator. It's the direct connection to your guidance system. Trust that by letting go of fear, of anything that feels fearful, of not being good enough, of any addictions, or any fear of the outside world, you'll find the love within and the light within yourself to be able to guide you. The only person you really truly need to trust and believe in is yourself, within yourself. The kingdom of heaven is within. So many scriptures say the same thing. Everything points to the same thing, within. And if you're looking to find that purpose, find the truth within, and to heal these trauma bonds, do look into the description. Have a look at my masterclass. It's a free masterclass. You can join it, download it. Just find out about how the brain works and how you can heal your brain so you can move forward. The most important thing here is that you connect to love. I'm sending you so much love. Have compassion and love for yourself as you're going through this journey. And please share, like, and comment into the post below if it's been at all useful for you. Sending you so much love. Till next time.